All right. Well, everybody, welcome tonight. Glad you're able to join us here, and we'll be able to talk a little bit about the paranormal and how we as a team investigate the paranormal, and go into a little bit of our equipment and some of our uh, data that we've collected. I do have to kind of give a little bit of a warning and a disclosure here. Some of the presentation may contain adult language and materials and graphic descriptions, and some controversial topics. All topics discussed are subjective in nature. Not all content is suitable for all ages. We do ask that you keep an open mind to others' beliefs and to enjoy the presentation. So I've got a list of topics here I'd like to go over. First, give a little bit of an introduction as to who I am, my involvement with the paranormal, and my team. As you can see, my name is Lee Wagner. I am the founder of Central Illinois Paranormal. I founded this group at the end of June last year, 2019. I've been involved with the paranormal since, I want to say 1995 is when I had my initial experience. And I was pretty much ready to go ever since then. And so I did a lot of research, a lot of book reading. Internet wasn't a thing much back at that time. But 2011, I did a lot of reading. So 2011, I finally found a local team. They were fairly new, probably 3 years old at that time. And I was able to join them. And we all did some really amazing things, investigated some really cool local places, and caught some amazing data that I'm able to share with you later on. Had a really great time with that team, but that team ended up being more of a ghost hunting team versus a paranormal investigative team, which was more in line with what I was wanting to do. For me and many others, there's a broad difference between being a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator. And there's nothing wrong with either of those. Our team is more of an investigative team when dealing with clients. But outside of that, when we just want to have fun, we'll just go on a really fun, simple ghost hunt. So with being a paranormal investigative team, there's a lot to consider when working with a client and their needs. And how we really get going on that is with our client acquisition. How do we get a client, and what steps do we take with them to begin an actual investigation with them? When we initiate a case with a client, we also try to build a relationship with our client. You know, it's not something that we want to do one time with them, call it a night, and say, see you later. We try to be as involved with the client as we can pertaining their case. And we follow a pretty strict line of ethics too when working with our clients. So how do we get our clients? They either, find us on the web, on our website, or Facebook, or Twitter, or anything like that. A lot of them reach out to us through email or messaging or the phone and have a brief conversation with them to get an idea of what's going on. And then I point them to the direction of our website to file a claim. Essentially, it's a short form filling out their personal contact information, a brief summary of what's going on. We ask them to answer some ethical questions that would determine if we're even able to go forward from that point or not. Some of those key factors are, those being involved with the case. Are any of them a minor? Are they underage? Um, we have to be very delicate in those situations. Is the client real frail due to old age? A lot can happen with a person's mind and body when you get up there in age. So that's something we have to consider as well. Did the client, are they breathing a death within the past 6 months or so? A lot of that can weigh pretty heavy on the mind psychologically. So a lot of the stuff we do take into consideration before taking a case, and it's best to kind of get those questions answered right away. So once we have that information and we decide that we're going to take the next step in developing the case with our client, we then schedule an interview with them. Now, lately, because of the COVID crisis that's impacted almost everybody everywhere, we've been doing a lot of our interviews remotely via Zoom or Skype or Facebook calling feature. I prefer to do them in person, but we're just at a point where we're not taking many chances right now. So we've opted to do these interviews remotely. Excuse me. So I explained to our clients right off the bat that our interviews are very in-depth. Some questions just seem really off the wall, not relevant to the case, anything like that. A lot of the questions that I ask can get very personal with our client. And I explained to our client that these questions may not seem relevant or seem really weird and off the wall now, but for us, the angle that we're trying to look at things, they could very well be relevant. When we're doing the interview, we're almost diagnosing the situation. Very similar to if you take your car to a mechanic, they should be asking you a lot of questions. What sound does it make? How fast are you going when this happens, et cetera, et cetera. We're, at this point being detectives, we're investigating this. And with that is a lot of communication with the interview. And we're never limited to just a single interview either. If down the road, if we have questions, we will need to reach out to the client and hopefully get answers for those. But some of the most common questions that we ask, whatever event or anomaly that is witnessed, do you recall what time of the day or night that was? Do you recall what the weather was like? Was it hot, humid, raining? Was there a storm? Was it very dry? All of those are potential factors in determining what's going on with this case. Something a lot of people don't think about, do you recall what the phase of the moon was at that particular time? Luckily, that's something that we can go back and research. But there's a lot of theories and hypotheses about moon phases and paranormal activity. So it's best that we just go ahead and ask that stuff, try to get the best answers we can right away, and see if it's relevant throughout the case. So with that, we document everything. All of our client acquisition, the form that they fill out, the interview, all of that is recorded and documented because at the end of everything, all this gets compiled into our research and gets entered into a complete report, a printed and a digital report for our client, so that way they have that to hold on to. So with that, we document and note everything. Trying to think here. So with our interviews, I do like to let our clients know right from the beginning, part of our ethical standards is that our client is able to, at any time, for any reason or no reason at all, decide that their investigation stops. We don't like the sense that our client may feel pressured on themselves to do something if they're not really comfortable with it. A lot of people are not comfortable doing this kind of stuff. A lot of people are not comfortable sharing their very personal or intimate family or lifestyle details with seemingly complete strangers. And that's part of why we build a relationship with our clients, to let them know, one, that they're not the only one that has ever dealt with anything not identical to theirs, but maybe similar, definitely along the same spectral path. So they're not alone in that regards. We're human just like them. We have feelings and emotions. We're highly confidential and discreet with our clients. But even with all that, some of them, once you get to it, just aren't comfortable, or maybe something within their case has changed on their end, and they decide to not go any further. So we let them know right away that they do have that option. We'll never try to talk them into staying with the case. It's clearly their choice, and we do respect that. And we are always here for them if they want to pick up again or if anything changes. So once we do the interview and or maybe interviews, hopefully we'll have enough information to determine what may be going on, based on what they have witnessed, what they're claiming. I personally tend to jump straight forward into thinking of natural possibilities as to, why the floorboards creak when there's seemingly nobody there. Or, maybe why a door opens or closes on its own. I instantly try to think of natural possibilities, non-paranormal reasons to why that's happening. But with the information that we get, we try to go into the investigation with a game plan of exactly how we're going to deal with this, what equipment we're wanting to use, if there's any experiments we are wanting to try, and really try to create a map of our physical investigation on how we're going to handle that. So, and each one of those cases could be different depending on what our client has been experiencing, and there's just so many possibilities to even start rattling off any of them at this point. But having that game plan already set up really helps us with our setup before we even hit the road to go to a location. What equipment we plan on using. We take everything, but what we really plan on using and plan on setting up and how we're going to use that to our benefit to work the case. So with the interview, like I said, a lot of the questions just may really seem irrelevant, sometimes redundant. You really become a detective at this point. Although there's no crime, you still are really trying to figure out what's going on. There may be multiple witnesses. So, there's a husband and wife, they're experiencing the same thing or maybe similar things. That would be another interview that we would want to conduct, because everybody experiences something differently. And we would want that other perspective. So, and then same types of questions. I've had some clients just really go bananas on questions that I've asked, and I've had to explain to them a couple times. It may not be relevant when we get down to it, but we'd rather have the information than not. So now with the interview, we also go through our legal paperwork, our documentation. So our client, they do sign a contract with us. Not legally binding them to anything, but just so that everything is in order. If, say the cops were called on us some night because, well, the neighbor knows that the people who live there are gone, but lights are on or there's flashlights or whatever, that contract helps protect us as a team and individuals, with that client granting us permission to be in their home or their business or their workspace to do what we're doing. So we have, waiver of liability. If we were to break or damage something, and just the same if, the client were to damage something of ours. So there's protection written into these that protects us individually and as a team, and the same with our client and their families. So another form that they read and sign is a notice of discovery. It's basically a release form. They would grant us certain permissions to release any data that we were able to capture from their case. Most people, and I don't blame them, but most of our clients don't wish for anything to be shared. The stuff I have tonight, I have received permission to share for this presentation. But most of our clients, they don't like the idea of anything getting out, and that's their prerogative. They're more than welcome to that, and we do respect that. So, but we still have them read and sign the documentation anyway. Some of it does give us certain permissions, but regardless, whatever we were to share, none of our clients' personal information, identifying information, anything like that gets shared, because we do respect the right to privacy. So now it's the end of the investigation. This investigation could go, as short as 2 hours to as long as multiple visits. Really depends on the situations, activity that you may be having at the time or not. Equipment failures, stuff like that. A lot of determining factors will decide how long or short a physical investigation will take. So when we first arrive to meet with our client for the investigation, we'll make sure that, we've introduced them with the rest of the team that would be coming along, any of their family that may be there. Kind of get the pleasantries and the introductions taken care of. And after that, we'll review paperwork again, make sure everything is okay. And at that point, the client will know that we do request to be by ourselves. in the residence or business. Um, to go back, that is discussed during the interview process as well. Um, but really, for us to do our work to maximum efficiency and effect, we do ask that the client leave us alone to do the investigation. And I hate to say it, we do ask them to burden themselves with staying somewhere else for the night. Um, you'd be surprised how many people are okay with that. If for some reason they're just not that comfortable, or somebody has to stay there, we'd ask the one person who's been impacted the most by the case to remain with us if somebody were to have to stay. Technically, any adult could stay with us in the home, but we do ask, the person most affected or impacted by the case to stay with us just in the event that we may need them. And that's something that, we would discuss with them, and they would have to be okay with. If they're not okay with that, that's perfectly fine. Again, we're not pushy. We do respect our clients' wishes. So at the end of the investigation, I or a team lead would determine when we should end the investigation at that moment. And at that point, if lights were off, they're going back on. We're going to start carefully packing up all of our equipment. We have a lot of cords for our camera system that, get wound up neatly, so they're not tangled up for next time. We quickly download any data that we have into a central point. Most of our stuff is either a quick transfer with a USB cable or has a memory card. So we quickly centralize all that data into one point on our laptop. And in the event that our client allows us to use their Wi-Fi or plug directly into their internet, we will quickly back that up to our Dropbox. That way we've got the information twice, and we can do with that what we need to at a later time. Now, what we do for a team, what I'd like for us to start doing as a team after we're done with a physical investigation, time permitting. It's always nice to meet up somewhere, relax, have a cup of coffee, get a bite to eat, talk about the case, talk about, what happened, experiences, anything like that. I feel that's the best time if you're able to just relax in a neutral environment with your team and compare your notes pretty much. In the Army, we called it an AAR, after action review, and you pretty much go over what the plan, the mission was, what you think you did good, and what you think could see some improvement. And that's something with our next cases that I am wanting to implement with our team, so we can learn from each other. And I think that's a great growing tool. It definitely works in the Army. Why can't it work in a paranormal team? So now, outside of that, excuse me, outside of that, when we go into our data analysis, we've so far been doing that on an individual level. I send my team different audio recordings, video, pictures. I pretty much spread it out, and I let the team go through it and nitpick at it. We take a couple weeks if not longer, if needs be, to really go through all this stuff. Some stuff could be hard to hear, easy to miss, and we want to get every bit of that we can. Sorry, I'm drying out. So, like I said, that could take a couple weeks. We like to let our client know that, our analysis could take anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks. If we foresee that that's going to take any longer, I'll definitely reach out to them, let them know what's going on. But even with that, my team members, they create a log, they write down everything that they've discovered. And once we're done with that, we cross information with each other and kind of double check each other's work. Is that what was heard? Is that what you heard being said? Or is that what you saw? I didn't see it that way. I see it this way. So to have those varying opinions and perspectives really helps. Really helps us weed out a lot of the what I call trash. We've got EVPs that are just, if you have to edit an audio clip to the point where something makes sense, it didn't make sense to begin with, in my opinion. And not worth really holding on to. So we really go for clear stuff, as clear as possible, whether it be EVPs, video, and photos. So with that, it's really difficult to have substantial audio and photographic evidence to present a client. But we still take the video. We've got an 8-channel camera system that we use. So that's a lot of watching. And then the photos, those you can get lost into looking at pictures for 2 weeks. But our audio evidence is pretty compelling, I believe. Some of the EVPs I have to share with you, some may be a little difficult to hear, but I do have probably the best Class A EVP I've ever captured. And I share this a lot. So when we have everything compiled, when we, as a team agree on the evidence that we want to present, we compile everything, all of our notes, all of our reports and forms, the interview, the intake questionnaire, everything. We put it into a very nice report. It's very presentable, presented very professionally to our client, physically and digitally. I haven't had a client yet that wasn't happy with the report they've got. They may not have liked the result, but they were happy with the report. So that's something, that's one of the few things that I feel really separates ourselves from other teams out there. So I want to jump in. All right, let me make some adjustments here and I'll pull up some of our equipment that we have. I've got to wash out myself with this light. Give me 1 second here. So I don't know if anybody has heard. Let me get a bigger we do have an SLS camera system. This thing is very finicky, and I generally don't have it on a small tripod. Let me get this in frame a little better. So this is an Xbox Kinect sensor. I don't know who all is familiar with an SLS camera system. But this is used in conjunction with 3D mapping software. A lot of 3D modelers use this technology to build 3D models and print from that. It was first really introduced for paranormal from the movie Paranormal Activity. When they, in the living room, set one of these up. And if you recall in the movie, you see all the dots and laser grid and whatnot on the walls. Well, that's what this is. And use a 3D mapping software on a tablet, a Windows tablet. And you're able to capture some pretty cool things. The downside to the SLS camera system is there's a lot of false positives, which if you see the skeleton stick figure on screen, a lot of people freak out, think, oh my goodness, there's a ghost there. Sorry, my phone fell. And well, a lot of these people are carrying this by hand. They're walking around with it. The technology built into the sensor wasn't meant to be mobile. It's meant to sit on your TV, stationary. So the way we use it, we tripod mount the sensor, and separately we tripod mount the tablet. That way nothing moves. And we haven't gotten any skeleton figures, any of the stick men yet. So we are still learning more about this technology. And hopefully it will be something that we determine is a great tool in our investigations and research. So let me put this back before it falls and I break my tablet. All right. Let me switch. All right. Hopefully y'all can see this. So if you're familiar with the good old-fashioned REM pod, you've ever seen that? It's round, has an antenna that sticks up out of there. It's got the lights on there, and it makes some squealing noises and lights up when something supposedly within the vicinity of the antenna or the device. Well, I individually, nor my team collectively, could we afford the almost $200 for that device. And so I did some research and found out exactly what a REM pod is. And it's really comprised of an old theremin. I believe that's how it's pronounced, a theremin instrument. So I found a kit which is identical to the electronics in the original REM pod. So I bought that and I made one. So you've got a real simple on-off switch. But I doubt you'll be able to hear this, but works just the same as the original REM pod. So we like this a lot. We mainly just use something like this to let us know something may be in the area. We don't hold water to this being evidence that anything is present. We just basically use it similar to a trip alarm, basically. But it's been a good tool for us so far. And it's real compact and easy to, I'm not even in frame here. I'm sorry. That's real compact and easy to store away in our box. And we use this on every investigation that we do. All right. So I'm really into audio and EVPs. And I don't know if anybody can make out what this is. But this is called binaural ears. A lot of people use this stuff for AMSR, I think it is. So I've got two lifelike ears on each side of this box. If I can figure out my frame here. So it's got a left and a right channel, and it's wired into our Zoom H1N microphone recorder. And with that, we can set this somewhere, mostly on a tripod, so it's, again, stable. And we'll record. We'll do our EVP sessions with this. And anything that's captured, we can, during our analysis, we can pull the left and the right channels separate. And sometimes we'll actually, maybe we'll hear something on the right channel that isn't there on the left channel, because this does pick up separately. I've got a little microphone inside of each of the ears, and they come together and go right into the recorder here. So this is a good recorder already, but in combination with this setup, we can really pull some amazing audio. Last thing, I'm going to show you, I'm very happy about this. It's called the EDI Plus. This is a data logger. This allows us to track temperature, whether it be Celsius or Fahrenheit, air pressure, humidity, EMF meter right here, and a geophone vibration meter here. So we can choose to display any one of these. So that's in Celsius. That's the EMF. That's the pressure and humidity. And then that's in Fahrenheit. The thing I like about this, yeah, it's going to display only one of these factors, but you can record to a memory card, and it's going to record all of these. It's going to record your temp, your pressure, humidity, your milligauss for your EMF, and any vibration that's detected on here. With that, while it is recording, you can also mark this. So if you're monitoring something and say you have a spike in temperature or a drop in pressure, you'll get a small alarm on here, and you can mark that recording. Okay. And then you're able to pull that information up on graph, and I'm going to see if I can even show you what that looks like. Okay, here we are. So this is what our graph looks like from the EDI Plus. This is all the data that we get. And I just mess around with this to get some of this information. But different peaks here. You can see your EMF and temperature measurements, your humidity and pressure, geophone, and that's when I actually marked one. And then it shows you individually all these factors. So the reason I love this is because it gives us tangible data to review. can put all that information into a spreadsheet. We can keep track with it. We can compare and contrast, include that in our reports, and it really helps us with data and the research that we do. Okay, got that turned off. All right, and that's just some of the equipment that we've been using, and we really enjoy that. So our last thing here, some of our evidence. Like I said, we don't have really any video or pictures to show, but I do have some audio. I just put a little disclaimer here, and then I another one when we get to some of these audio files. Some of these do have some adult language in them. Any communication we get from the other side, we have no control what they say about us, anything like that. Also, when we do have a client with us, we cannot control what they say either. So I do apologize for that. There is some adult use language here, and I will give you a heads up when we get to those. Let's see here. All right. Now, let me just try to pull these up. Okay, so this first one that I'm going to share with you may be difficult to hear. So if you got headphones on, it'd be great to put them on. Although, man, I hope this isn't too loud in that case. But this one here, I'm not able to share the location, but it local to us, some great history in our area, and we had the ability to investigate this large building. And I do believe it was during February a few years back. It was very cold in there. And I apologize, I don't have too much context into these. They were just short clips of stuff that was saved some time ago. So I don't have the full recording to go into much detail, but in this clip here, they're talking about being a cold breeze or something to that effect. And what we hear underneath all of that is something that says it's cold. It's almost like a whisper.
So Claire and Jessica, feel free to start asking any questions that you might have. I'm going to go look on some Ask Google portions of the internet and see if I can find a way to share that audio still. But please do take it away.
All right. Yeah. Now, for me, just kind of preface this, nothing is off limits with paranormal. I admit I've forgotten more than I've known. If I don't know something, we do have your email, and I will find an answer and follow up with you. Claire, looks like you're asking a question, and I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, the headphones. Oh, stupid. I don't need them anyway. Anyway, so you probably get this question all the time. How do you feel about the paranormal research shows like Ghost Adventures and stuff like that? What's your take on those?
Oh, yeah, I get asked that tons. So I do have a strong opinion. I love watching them. To me, it's entertainment. It's entertaining. Definitely nothing you want to take as training material, although some of their techniques aren't bad at all. Some of the stuff is just really, I would never do it. Never do it. But they're in the business to entertain. That's their niche. I go crazy for it sometimes. But no, we don't take any of that to heart really. It seems some of these shows though, just what's really keeping them alive is the plague of demonic activity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if there was really that much demonic activity, it's 2020. What can we really expect?
Exactly. Very true. Very true.
But no, I am entertained by them. I'm glad to see, Ghost Hunters made it back. I love Grant. Oh, I couldn't think of it. His wife is doing something separate in normal now. And then Ghost Nation, see those guys back at it again. But yeah, I find it all very entertaining.
Yeah. And that is what it is. That's why I was curious, because I'm sure it might be a little bit embellished or something like that, but
never know. Like I was explaining to my daughter, we only see what's in front of that camera lens, and through editing, what they allow us to see.
True. Very true.
Who knows what's going on outside of those parameters?
Yeah.
But some of that, it's a really great question. Because some of that is part of why I haven't really tried to do much with YouTube or anything like that. I'm not a spotlight type of guy.
Yeah.
I don't like people noticing me much. And I felt if I, got our channel actually going, we have a channel, there's nothing on it, and I've got 3 amazing subscribers. But in my core, I feel if I got anything going like that, we would be perceived as trying to be the next show and point out what I want. And then anytime you post anything, you're going to get opinion.
Yeah.
So, but I've got thick skin. I can take that. But yeah, we may get our YouTube going eventually. I like to do, educational stuff. If we're gonna the EDI meter, maybe we'll break that down into its individual parameters and really go into detail. I don't know.
Cool. And that'd be different content than a lot of people have, I think, too, which is cool.
Yep. And I think nobody will see it.
You never know.
I'll watch it. I will break the algorithm myself.
Yeah. Those algorithms will get you, I tell you.
They will. Yeah. All right. Great question.
Hey.
Lee, did you have a question, Jessica?
I'm sorry. My kids are kind of trying to come get me upstairs. But how would someone end up joining you guys?
Oh, we get asked that a lot too. It's real simple. On our website, we've got a whole join us page. In the beginning, I hope it gets you hyped up, and then I give you a little bit of information in the middle. Like, hey, this is really what we're not looking for. I like to cut the head off of that snake right away. And then at the end of it, it's like, there's this giant button. You click on that, you fill out an application, we review it, and I interview. I prefer to do them in person, but again, because of everything going on, and lately, people nowhere near me, surprisingly, wanting to join, and that's perfectly fine. I've actually got an interview with a gentleman that's in Quincy. I'd love to be able to expand our team up that way as well. Why not? But so I'll interview people, get to know them a little bit, invite them to one of our meetings, and we go from there. So
I must have missed. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
One thing I was going to follow up on that too, and something that's mentioned on our join us page is, a lot of these paranormal teams, groups, what have you, majority of the membership was 1,000% believer, and that's okay. I tend to look for the ones that are more skeptical than anything. We've got a good mix on our team. I feel that's great. I think if you have a team that's, all or mostly believer, you really lose a lot of that objectivity in your findings.
And I'm sorry, where are you located? Because you said up in Quincy. I guess I thought you were like in Quincy. But
Virtually, yes. No.
Yeah, I was going to say Central Illinois is not just Quincy, I guess. So.
Yeah. Based in Peoria.
Okay.
So majority of our members are Peoria area. We do have our newest member so far is out of Normal, Bloomington Normal.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I would love to scatter my stuff all over the state. What I've been wanting to do is build a strong network. Similar to TAPS, if you remember what that is, the TAPS family. So I do have, for my team, I have a very high standard of professionalism and ethics, which you don't see that a lot with different groups and teams, unfortunately, and they do leave a little bit of a stain in the communities regarding that. So I have a higher standard for professionalism and ethics. And if I can get people trained up to those standards, whether they want to be part of my team or start their own or take it back to their team, perfect. And, then I know I can confidently rely on that team. If there's a case that we can't handle or it's not in our area, I can say without a doubt to that client, this is the team that's able to work with you, and I can put my name on that. Sorry, I dried out. Alrighty. Were there any more questions from this great crowd?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did you ever get into an interview with some clients and then kind of have a realization where you feel like you're about to hit something big or like something larger than just a little spook is happening? Not the demonic stuff, so I can't hang with that stuff, but
we have, in fact, that exact example. We I can't say if it was demonic or not. We didn't fulfill the case. I think it was more drug related. And I think the client was actually hammered on something at the time. We drove all the way up to Chicago to do an interview. They didn't have all this Zoom remote stuff back then. Well, they had Skype. Yeah. Nobody liked Skype. Nobody likes Skype now, I guess. But so no, there was a lot going on in this client's claim. And, that team that I was with at the time, we're really trying to make a name for ourselves. So, oh, yeah, we're making the trip. We're going to do this. And talking to this client, she just really went right field. And so I don't know. I don't know if it was drug, alcohol related at the time, or if it was just a real oppressive moment in some stage of manifestation. I don't know. We pulled the plug on that case, and no regrets. So yeah, we don't mess with any of that demonic stuff either. I'm not knowledgeable enough in it, not yet anyway. I like to learn more about demonology. Mainly so I can more easily see, the signs and makeup of it. That way I can know sooner to avoid it, really.
Can you talk about some of your reservations with taking on cases from a demonic perspective or with the demonic element?
Yeah, sure. Just the same with the Ouija board. There's tons of people that say, there's nothing wrong with it and nothing's going to happen. I don't want to take a chance. That's just something, my luck, something would happen. My daughter's on my team now. Before she was too young to be involved, and she's old enough now. I don't want anything to happen with her or any of my friends that are involved with the team. Just in regard that might be real. Nobody knows yet if demonic entity or powers are real. Just the same on the other side of the coin. But I was raised Christian. I was raised to believe good and evil, God and Satan. I do believe there's a God, and with that I feel, well, I have to believe there's a Satan. And I like to believe that one day I will go to heaven. I don't want to take a chance that I won't. So I'm not going to take a chance with any of that other stuff, the Ouija board and remote communications, anything like that, possibility of opening something up. It could all just be nothing, but it's nothing I want to take a chance with for myself individually, for my family, or my team. Good question.
I have a question. So sometimes the people who are in this field of work, you hear about them having like an inciting incident that like made them a believer. I know that you said that you grew up as a Christian. Was there anything that kind of made you gravitate towards this type of work, or did you just kind of fall into it? Or
I kind of fell into it. Nothing to do, on a religious aspect, anything like that. I quit going to church as quickly as possible. It was just boring to me. Good stories, but I was bored. I don't know if I could pinpoint, what it was that got me into it. I've always been a very curious person. Remember as a kid, anything I could take apart to see how it worked, and failed miserably putting it back together. That was my thing. I'm glad I evolved out of that put it together wrong thing when I became a mechanic years ago. But so I've always been drawn into what's in it. How does it work? And I know, after death, there's something. There's got to be. Maybe there isn't. Maybe we'll discover nothing happens. But I believe our soul is made up of energy, and energy has been proven through science it cannot be created or destroyed. So what happens to it?
that's like the ultimate, like, take it apart, put it back together.
Yeah.
That's your big solve. Yeah.
my giant car.
Yep, exactly. That's the metaphor.
So, I mean, that drives me. There's always some evolution of information. I've learned so much in the past years. Like, I hope I don't, burst anybody's bubble or, make this a spoiler alert, but we discovered the K2 meter is garbage. I threw all of ours away. To us, they're not reliable, and yeah, so we just don't use them anymore. But so hopefully, probably long after I'm dead, although I made promises to people if I can haunt them to give them answers.
Yep, there you go.
So
yeah, it's very cool. It's a cool way to look at it.
Oh yeah. Cool. I'm sorry, I have to look at all of you on one screen.
And I tried to look up ways to get this audio situated. And aside from checking your what's it called? Share screen sound on option. There's an in-depth way to get through Windows settings to turn it on. But you probably have done that to set up your microphone and everything.
Yeah.
So maybe you could just talk a little bit about what you were going to share, or talk a little bit about some of the evidence you've found, or past experiences you've had.
Sure. So like that one, we were in this place in middle of February. We were stupid. I don't even know what we were doing. But we were talking about how cold it was, and it just very chillingly. None of us heard it at the time. We only heard it on the recording. A very faint whisper. It's cold. And so that's what I was looping for you. Just that it's cold. And of course, it's amazing when you listen to a recording, especially if you were there while it was being recorded. So you're playing back in your head the steps, everything that's going on, everybody's coughs, sniffles, footsteps. You're like, okay, I know what all that is. And then you hear a word or a phrase, and you're like, what was that? And a lot of the stuff that we get, it's like, you're trying to do one of these things, trying to hear it better. And then it's in my opinion, if you've got to run that through so many filters in audio software to determine what it was said, it's just not even worth it. You just wasted a bunch of time you'll never get back. But that was one of those where we didn't have to edit anything. And it was very clear the moment we heard it, what that was. Let's see what else we've got lined up here. Okay, so this other one that I was sharing, I was going to share, I honestly don't remember the full context with it. I know we were in an older house. Oh my goodness, this was 8 years ago when I was with this other team. So I don't even remember what the claims were, but the audio clip that I had that I was going to share with you, there's the founder of that group and somebody else. They were talking in the background, and then just out of nowhere, there was a whisper of 1, 2, 3. Don't know what they were counting or why, but that's what it was. And it was one of those things. It was just loud enough for you to go, what was that? I think for me, that's one of the most enjoyable things about doing this is this kind of discovery. When you go somewhere, you had conversation with another living human being, or maybe a cat was there too. I don't know if you talk to cats. But when you play back and you listen, there's just something else there. And it's really difficult to say that that's nothing. It's something. Something made that noise, said that word, said that phrase. I find it kind of compelling. Now, the goal is to try to have a conversation. That's not a yes or no conversation. We don't even collect that stuff anymore. Years back, we would get so excited about a yes or no response to a question. It's like anything can make a sound that sounds like no. So we want words, dang it. That's this one. Okay, so this other one that I was going to share, our client Mike, who's a really good friend of mine since kindergarten. He reached out to us one time. His old farmhouse had some tragedy, 100 years before. But the grounds of it really messed with him. He saw people in his garage door would slam shut. They'd see people out in the yard from their windows. So we could only investigate the property, the grounds. We were not allowed inside the house, which was fine. But so Derek, the founder of the group that I was in at the time, and myself with our client Mike, we had a ghost box, which at that time was a modified radio, digital radio, that we were able to go in to the electronics and set it to where it would scan forwards or backwards, either FM or AM. And so we always had that scanning in reverse on AM. I don't know what kind of AM stations you get in your area. Ours are very dry and boring. Nobody listens to them. So when you get some profanity coming through, well, you know it's not going to be on an AM station ever. But this one wasn't the case. But so Derek was asking who all else was with us. And so we hear a little bit of static and chirps, and then Mike. And then right after that voice came through, Mike, the living Mike, just started freaking out. And, you know, we unprofessionally giggled a little bit from his reaction. We grow from these experiences. But no, he really had a very difficult time with that. And what I was going to present tonight was that on spectrograph, different audiographs, where we can see that portion of audio. It's a very clear. There was a hard K, like Mike, in that, and I thought it was pretty cool. Our second to last piece, or second to last, was from a recent investigation that we did. The same location as the It's Cold audio, but this was done a couple months ago. And so we were in the basement of this place, and inside in the basement, it's all concrete. It's an old medical facility. So down in the basement, there's a separate room. It only has one huge steel door. And I told my team I wanted to conduct an experiment. If anybody wanted to volunteer, that'd be great. But basically, we're going to put somebody in this room. If nobody wants to do it, I was going to do it. We're going to be blindfolded, sat in a chair. We would have the SLS camera system recording them, see if any stick figures pop up or anything changes through the 3D range of that. We had 3 recorders going on and an app that we use called the VoxBox. And basically the VoxBox gives us 4 audio channels to play audio from an audio bank that plays them randomly throughout the while it's playing. I've got my audio bank, my customized audio bank has probably 5 millisecond audio slivers. I probably got close to 13,000 audio files of these tiny slivers of audio that are being randomly played in this app. And so instead of a ghost box that we used to use, we use this app. And we've had tons of success with this. So that's what we were playing in the background of this experiment in this tiny room. And so my investigator, Ricky, he volunteered to do it. And so he's going through there And he actually got a lot of responses to, my guess was up to 4 possible entities or spirits in this room. And they really took to him. And they were giving direct responses to questions he was asking. But he got to a point, his legs were just bouncing like crazy. He said he can't control that. He didn't do it. He can't stop it. And he asked for one of my other investigators, Jackie, to come into the room. For what, I don't know. Maybe he just needed that comfort feeling. But she goes into the room, asks him, if he's okay, if he's tapping out, if he wants to call it quits. She gets called from the Vox box. She gets called a derogatory name. Nobody heard it at the time, but it was fairly clear on the recording. I'm not going to say what it was. I'm sorry. I'll let you guys hear that. I'll highlight it or timestamp it somehow what that was. But none of them heard that at the time. If they did, they didn't report it. But it was directed towards Jackie. It was, the conversations that were going on. She steps in, asks Ricky questions. She gets called a name. And then moments after that, she's checking on him, and he's like, "No, I'm going to go on. I want to continue." It was a very distinct female voice that says, "Ricky, F me." Yeah. And he goes, "Did that thing just say my name?" And then he called for me to come in. So I go in the room. His legs are going crazy. He's sweating. I called it. I said, "We're done. We're stopping." So yeah, he presented that data to me, a list of edits, and that was very amazing, very compelling. So that's when I was really excited to share. The last one I have to share was from one of our clients. Her name is Ruthie, an amazing woman. She lives in a home converted to a duplex. Yes. So she lived, on one side of it. Her brother lived in the basement portion of it, and together they rescued dogs. That was her thing. The gentleman that lived next door was not home for us to interfere or ask him questions, anything like that. So luckily we were able to get Ruthie to get her and all of her dogs to vacate the home for us for the night. And we had an instance where, those motion detector air fresheners or something like that. It seems when you walk by, it just blows you right in the face. We kept hearing that, and it sounded to us, in our ears, something about a nurse. And we thought we were actually hearing a disembodied voice. And then, we discovered it was a stupid air freshener. We're easily fooled. But I explained that to lead up to the clearest Class A EVP I've ever captured, ever heard. So we were walking down from the main floor down the stairs to the basement, and a stupid air freshener goes off as we walk by it. Derek, he made reference, and this is pretty much where we pick up the audio clip. At that time, we were very juvenile on how we edited our stuff. So at that point, he is explaining how that about gave him a heart attack because it startled him. Now, the recording, you would think if if we would have heard it at the time, we would have made comment of hearing it, but we didn't hear it at the time, only on the recording. But very clear. It says, "Thank you for the big house." It's not that big of a house. Maybe before it was converted to duplex, I could see it being a bigger house. But yeah, there was no rhyme or reason why that was. Derek and I were the only living human beings in that house at that time. We had no reason to thank either one of us for a big house that we didn't live in. So that really leads us to asking, what was that? But yeah, very clear, Class A, no headphones needing EVP. All right. So I've really put a lot of work. I didn't. So there's our website, email address, and phone number. And then, our socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think I've got 3 pictures on Instagram. We're slowly working on that stuff. Twitter, I'm starting to get a little more active with Twitter. Facebook just drives me crazy. But either way, you can get a hold of us through the website, email, phone. You can call or text. The number is fine. And then any of our socials. I do work full-time during the day, so if anybody does reach out, well, there's a little one. So if anybody does reach out during the day, it would be in the evening when I'm able to reply back.